Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Wellness Rock podcast. And I'm so excited to be with you guys this week. I have a very special guest with us. This is Hannah, and she likes to, well, not she likes to, she loves to, and this is her passion, and this is what she does. She empowers entrepreneurs to break through business plateaus and achieve peak performance by silencing their inner critic through cycle alignment, human design, and somatic breath work. So, yes, I'm really excited to kind of dive into this conversation with her today. And we're going to be talking about leadership and kind of what she does and how she brings everything that she does into helping, I mean, ultimately, entrepreneurs become better leaders so that we can become better ourselves. So, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's so great to be here with you today
Yes.
on this dreary day. We were just talking about how cloudy it is. So
Yes.
we're going to bring the energy
Yes.
instead of the sunshine bringing the energy.
Yes, we're going to be the vitamin D today.
Yes, I love that. So my name's Hannah. I label myself as a holistic business coach. I love talking about labels because I'm just like, what does that even mean? Like, how do I label myself? But
Hmm.
I do work with entrepreneurs and business owners in really learning their unique energy so that we can become more aligned leaders. I think aligned is one of my favorite words. And I think
Yeah.
that really pairs well with leadership because there's so many ways that we can lead from an inauthentic place, whether that's like trying to emulate some people that we look up to or our mentors
Right.
or acting the way that we think we should, quote unquote,
Yeah.
act or lead. But learning these tools, like you mentioned, like cycle alignment or human design, and even somatic breath work, any somatic work of getting into your body allows us to kind of reconnect with our unique energy, who we were designed to be, so that we can lead our business and come from our business from that grounded place
Hmm.
and serve our community and our people from that
Right.
place in an even more supportive way.
Yeah. No, I love that because I feel like it's so important to get into who you are, who you're meant to be, so that you can help others become. I mean, that's my whole purpose, like, is to help others discover their divine purpose from God. So, like,
Yeah.
you have to know your purpose and you have to know who you are so that you can help others become and do that as well.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Agree. Totally.
So, what does leadership and success really look like to you? I know you work with a lot of entrepreneurs, so you probably see a lot of different leadership styles. You see a lot of different success. Success isn't the same for everybody. So, what does that kind of look like for you, and how do you bring that into kind of coaching your clients?
Yeah. I love that you said success looks different for everyone because that's exactly where I was going to take it is
Mm,
we need to define what does this success look like to me because
right,
we're really conditioned, right? Like to believe that having a lot of money means that you're successful, having the big house, having the dog, having the white picket fence, right? Like the
right.
American dream, that's the version of success that we're sold.
Mm-hmm.
And when we move through life and just kind of blindly go after that without even thinking, is this what I want? Like,
Right.
do I want a dog?
Yeah.
Do I want to have a lot of money? What feels successful to me in my
Right.
body? And how does success feel in my body? That's one of my questions that I ask my clients, is really learning how success feels, or how some other words like feeling satisfied, like how does feeling satisfied feel in your body, right?
Right.
Or successful, or whatever it is, whatever word kind of resonates with you, and learn that. So what does success mean to me? Success honestly is this: it's being able to talk about what I love, being able to share what I love. I really do believe that my life purpose is to share everything that I've learned in my life with the world.
Yeah.
So growing up, I grew up in a household where my mom was very, I mean, I use the term holistic because that's kind of like the buzzword,
Right.
but she has a undergraduate degree in nutrition. She has a master's degree in counseling. She was very health conscious and spiritual growing up. I mean, she still is. She's amazing.
I
Um,
love that.
like, I grew up learning how to read a nutrition label, like, not just, "Oh, this says it has no sugar, so it must not have sugar," right? And I
Right.
grew up modeled healthy communication. What does that look like? What
That's
are I
awesome.
mean, later I learned attachment styles, but, like, I grew up in a more secure attachment style environment, and I didn't realize that not everyone was given these tools. Not everyone
Mm,
knows. Especially in the wellness industry, I think a lot of people's stories that I hear is I hit rock bottom, I got this diagnosis, or I found myself, just completely depressed and fallen apart, and then I found healthy eating habits. And then I found exercise, or then I found spirituality, or, whatever tool it is. And I was blessed. And I know that this is a huge blessing. I was blessed to grow up in a family where I was gifted a lot of these from the beginning.
yeah.
Not that my life is perfect, not that we didn't have challenges.
Right.
Everyone goes through trauma. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that my life has been sunshine and roses, because it has not. But I
Yeah.
was given so many tools from the beginning. Um, and it was really that realization that I kind of started having when I went to college, like knowing how to do my own laundry, being okay. I went to college, I grew up in New Hampshire, and I went to college in North Carolina, not knowing anyone, not knowing
Wow.
one
That's
soul,
awesome.
didn't have any family, didn't have any friends. And I remember having a high school teacher telling me before I went, and he was like, there's like 80%, 85% of people that go to school out of state don't even last a year, and they always come home. I was like, first of all, why are you telling me this?
Right.
That's so depressing.
You're supposed to
Um,
encourage me to go.
right. I'm like, that's not encouraging at all. But I thrived in school, and
That's
I
awesome.
mean, those are some of the best years of my life, and I know that a lot of that has to do with how I was raised
Right.
and how I grew up. So that is a huge, long story. Sorry for all the squirrels, but I learned that that was my purpose, and success to me, wrapping it all the way back up, success to me is living out your purpose,
Yeah,
is discovering your purpose, and that changes. I mean, our purpose can change and
all the
evolve
time.
over time,
Yeah.
but it's continually striving to live in your purpose and really do that, because when you are living in your purpose and when you are being Stephanie, everything that
Right.
she is,
Yeah.
then you're going to be magnetic and you're going to inspire other people to
Right.
live their purpose, and that's successful. That's a
Yeah.
successful life.
I love that. No, I love that. I love, like, at the very beginning when you said, do you even want these things? Like, we're
Mm,
conditioned to believe that success looks like having $1 million in your bank
mm,
account and having the nicest house and the nicest car. And one thing for me over the past year or so, I always wanted that because that's what I always thought like success was. And I was like, you know what? I actually don't think I want that because I see what all these other people go through to get that. I
yeah,
see what all these other people are doing even when they achieve that. They're not even at that point, they're not even enjoying it because they're more money, more problems. Like you just have more problems to deal with at that point. So I've like totally shifted my perspective of what I really want. And for success, like it means success for me means like being able to choose my family or an experience over choosing to have to be at work. Like I have my own business, so I have a lot of flexibility within that. And for me, like it's just been so amazing to see how I get to choose to go see my family and I don't have to take time off. I just have to get my employees to work more that week or
yeah,
whatever that looks like. But um so yeah, I think what you said, like finding out what success means for each and every person individually, and it goes back to like finding out what you want and your purpose, kind of like you were saying. So yeah, no
mhm.
no worries on the squirrels. I feel like all the squirrels were important.
Yeah, brought us to where we needed to be. But I think a really cool exercise to do when we're like, I think, one of the next questions is, well, what if I don't know what success means to me?
Right.
Um, is look at what you have been running after, right? Like the $1 million, being super financially successful and independent, and ask yourself, why do I want that?
Right.
And then keep layering it down. Like, okay, well, I want $1 million because I want to be financially independent. Okay, why do you want that? I want
Right.
to be financially independent because I don't know, I grew up and I felt like my family really struggled. Okay, so why is that important to you? And then you get to the root cause, and you might come to the conclusion that maybe I don't need $1 million. Like maybe it is just that financial independence and that stability that I'm craving, that my life is craving. And then what does that actually look like? Like
Mhm.
maybe it's not a numerical value. Maybe it's having the freedom to be able to travel and go see your family,
Yeah.
or be able to go on vacation with your family. That's a big thing for me too, actually.
Yeah.
That was because I did corporate America, and I was like, I don't wanna have to build my PTO
Yeah.
and make sure that, and then let down my clients if I'm leaving for a whole week. They don't get to see another speech pathologist because there's not another one to see, so they just don't
Yeah.
get therapy that month or that week, I'm sorry. And there's, like, so many layers there, and that was a big thing for me too, is, like, I wanna have my own business because I want the freedom to travel
Yeah.
and to see my family and work from anywhere.
Right. Yeah. That's really, really good. So how do you kind of like implement that leadership and that success that you desire into your daily activities? So kind of take us through maybe like what one of your day looks like or yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So a big part of, and I mean, my business is my life. Like a big part of my life is my business and
Mm,
how I coach. I think people can be different,
mhm.
but how I coach is truly just based off of what I've gone through, and
Yeah.
I can meet my clients at a certain level because I've gone down to that certain level.
Right.
And this has taken years to develop, by the way. And let me preface this with, like, I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form, and I still struggle with it a lot. But unlearning that, like, all of the tasks of your business is what makes you successful,
Mhm.
and repatterning to, as I'm taking care of myself and as I'm meeting myself in the crappy moments, in the feeling insecure, feeling shame, feeling guilt, feeling that inner critic. As I'm working on that, then I'm able to meet my clients and work on that with them and
Yeah.
support them in that better. So a daily kind of pattern, I guess, in my schedule is morning routine. I think any good leader has a strong morning routine,
Yeah.
and that is going to look so different for everyone. If
Right.
you are a mom, I'm not. So our schedules are going to look, and our routines are going to look vastly different. This morning, like, I mean, I already pointed out the weather. I'm so affected by the weather. So this morning I woke up and
I
I'm
feel
like,
that.
I'm not feeling motivated at all. I don't want to, like, go to the gym, or I'm also, like, late luteal phase, and a bunch of my work is aligning to, like, our menstrual cycle as women.
Mhm.
So I'm, like, just low energy. And instead of, I think, where past versions of myself would have been very judgmental, and then I would have felt a lot of shame for, like, not exercising or not, like, getting right on the computer and doing work. Um, I just kind of met myself there, and I
Yeah.
made a really good decaf cup of coffee, and I have a little red light therapy panel, and I sat and I did my red light therapy and I meditated, and then I just kind of sat there for a little bit and just allowed myself to be, which is
Yeah.
kind of like a weird thing to say, but
No,
but that's, like, I think that's what a lot of my invitations are, is learning. What I say is learning the communication of your body. So
yeah.
listening to your body. And I think that that makes a really good leader, because what we're conditioned to think is that if you are not pushing and you're not forcing and you're not hustling, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And actually, it's the opposite. The more that you listen to yourself, like I know that if I would have did whatever, right? Like gone and done like a really hard workout or did whatever this morning and pushed myself, I would have come to this conversation like frazzled and exhausted and not
Yeah.
really clear headed and level headed. And this is important. Like having communication and having conversations is really important to me. So
Right.
yeah, I think listening to your body is probably my biggest leadership tool. And in the morning and the evening is the easiest time because we tend to have a little bit more off our plate. So we don't have
Right.
the boss calling us. We don't have our kids once we put the kids to bed. We don't have our kids knocking on our door and pulling on our legs. And
Right.
we can like leave the partner and tell him to go watch TV or whatever and carve out 20 minutes for yourself. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just sitting there and being like, what do I want to do? Do I
Right.
want to read? Do I want to take a bath? Do I want to shower? Do I want to text my friend or call my friend? Do I
Yeah.
want to listen to a podcast? Do I want to move my body? Like once we sit and we take a couple breaths, you'll know. Like your
Yeah.
body, I would say your body would tell you, your body will tell you
Yeah.
what it needs.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I really do love what you said about how every morning routine is going to look different for somebody else because I like for so long you would see like, oh, 5 steps to create a great morning routine or like
Yeah.
these 5 things you need to do to have a great morning routine. Whereas I would like listen to those and then I would try them and they just they don't work for everybody. Like maybe that works for one person, but that's not going to work for you. So I love what you said about like figuring out what works for you. Like for me, I wake up every day and I get on my prayer mat and I pray and I read my Bible and I journal and then I get ready. And depending on if I work in the morning or if I don't work in the morning, work out in the morning, or if I work in the morning or I don't work in the morning, it looks a little different. But that's where you have to give grace with yourself too. Like not every day is going to look the same. Like you may not be able to work out in the morning every day or like you said, may not feel as motivated. I'm very, very affected by the weather as well. I'm trying to not be, but I
Yeah.
mean, the sun makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I was telling my husband towards, I think it was like a couple weeks ago when we had got a couple warm days and then went back to cold, kind of like it's doing right now. And I was like, I just feel so seasonally depressed. Like this is the probably the first part of winter where I felt seasonally depressed and I'm just like I need summer. Like I'm a person that needs sunlight and
Mhm.
he was like you can't let the weather affect your mood. Like and I'm like no, babe. And then the next day it was sunny and he was like, okay, maybe it was like seasonally depressed because now that the sun's out, like you're a whole different person. I'm like, I'm telling you, like,
Yeah.
it's not like I'm like crazy because the sun's not out, but it just affects you inside. Like you're, like you
Mhm.
said, you're not as motivated to do everything that you may want to do during that day. And I
Yeah.
also love that you said that we can sit with that because I used to be the same way. Like I'd be so hard on myself and being like, "Oh, I can't just sit here and not do anything and
Mhm.
just yeah, it's not okay to not feel motivated today. Like I have to be motivated." But I've gotten to a point with myself and I'm just like, "No, it's okay." Like
Mhm.
you are okay to not be a robot that just goes and goes and goes and goes. Like
Yeah.
there's some people out there that can do that and maybe they are robots. Like we don't know. Truly.
Yeah. I think that it's a lot of, conversation around cycles and, like, the seasons is a cycle, right? Like,
Mhm.
winter, spring, summer, fall.
Right.
Those are cycles that we go through. We as females also go through 4 different seasons within our body with, like,
Every month.
hormone fluctuations and energy levels, and we go through different I also think that we just kind of go through different seasons in our life. So, like some people will call it like, oh, I'm going through like a winter season or like a harvesting season or a
Mhm.
reaping season or a planting season. Like
Yeah.
there's all these different ways to kind of talk about seasons and cycles in our life. But learning those, and that's one of the biggest things that I do with my clients, is we have those conversations, because learning, like, oh, I'm just in my late luteal phase right now, or like I'm just, I'm um in winter, like physically in winter season. It doesn't matter if it's like an internal or an external. Um, we learn. We can also learn the gifts of those seasons.
Right.
So, like, we all have superpowers in each of the seasons, and they're all different. And we're kind of just taught summer, or like ovulation phase, or the like harvesting season and the production season.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're not in that area of our life,
Right.
then that's where we have a lot of that shame and guilt, because we're like, why don't I have the energy? And everyone else seems to have that energy, but
Right.
it's not true. I mean, they're either pushing themselves through it, or maybe they
Right.
are in their ovulation phase,
Yeah.
or it's men. Men have like completely different cycles
Right.
than us, which looks so much different. And learning these things, I think, also is really supportive in rediscovering that authenticity and kind of coming back to that leadership and authentic leadership, because it's really just showing up how you are. Like, this is just how I am.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, there's nothing wrong with having lower energy, or like, especially like in winter, there's a lot of time for reflection, and maybe you're
Mm-hmm.
just feeling really reflective, but you
Right.
get these really beautiful downloads and insights because you're slowing down.
Yeah.
And then you get to implement that download and kind of act on that download in a couple weeks or in a couple months, when you
Yeah.
have more energy to do that. But
Right.
if you're not slowing down, you're never going to get that download. You're never
Yeah.
going to get that message of like, oh, this is such a great like coaching idea, or this is such a great podcast topic that I could talk about,
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. I feel like it takes sitting in those quiet times to really kind of like going back to the beginning, like figuring out what you want, figuring out your purpose, and getting those creative ideas to go and do those things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So much power in slowing down. We're
Mm-hmm.
really not taught, and it's really not accepted. So we have to teach ourselves. And I mean, like, we are everywhere. I don't know if you see nervous system stuff everywhere, but I feel like everyone's talking about nervous system stuff. Like, that is really all we're saying is how can we teach our bodies? Because our bodies don't speak in English,
Right.
or like, they don't communicate in words. It communicates in signals and sensations and emotions. So
Yeah.
how can I teach my body that it's okay to slow down, that we're actually safe in slowing down, and this is actually a good thing?
Yeah.
And how can I allow myself to slow down to create that space? I mean, that's
Yeah.
what like prayer is. That's what journaling is. That's what
Mm-hmm.
meditating is. We have
Yeah.
so many ways that we can slow down. And it's really about finding what's right for you. Like, instead of listening to, your favorite Instagram influencer that's like, oh, these are the 5 things that I do.
Right.
Like, try them, but maybe they don't work for you. And that's
Yeah.
okay. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you.
Right. Yeah. No, that's really good. So, how do you feel like the way God designed us to lead us and become better leaders? More so like, how does the way God designed us lead us to be better leaders, which ultimately leads to more success?
Hmm. That's a good question. I think ultimately we all have different gifts,
Yeah.
right? Like, we
Yeah.
all have
Gifts.
different
That's a good one.
powers, we all have different personalities, we all
Yeah.
have different passions, we all have different purposes, and we get really lost. We can get really lost in, let me do it the way I think it should be, or
Yeah.
let me, like, this person is really successful, and they seem so happy,
Right.
and I really love their message, so let me approach my business in the exact same way.
Mm,
I think when we get lost in that we're really living out of alignment and
yeah.
out of these God-given gifts that we are blessed with.
Right.
And when we use that time to slow down, and when we use that time to really ask ourselves, like, Actually, this is a really good thing that you can ask your friends or people that you love. It's an exercise I did at a retreat one time.
Mm,
And it's, I don't know the exact question, but it's like texting your friends or someone that you trust and someone that you respect, like their opinion,
yeah.
and ask them, like, what do you think some of my gifts are? Like, what
Yes.
makes me unique? What
Yes.
makes me different from
I've done
other
that.
people that you're friends with, or,
Yeah.
other people that you've dated or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're asking,
Right.
and see what they say, and then see how it resonates with you.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
not
yeah.
everything's gonna resonate, but sometimes we need that mirror, right? Of, like,
Mhm.
someone else pointing it out to us, versus, like, us trying to really unearth and discover, and we do need to do that too, but it's just a different exercise that you could do, and just text your friends, like, and honestly, it's super nice to get that receive that message and, like,
Right.
fully, allow yourself to receive it,
Yeah.
and then you can give it back to them. Like,
Right.
you can say, "This is what I think makes you so special. This is what I love about you. This is what I think makes you unique, and these are your superpowers in my opinion."
Yeah.
And they can allow that to kind of settle in, and you can make it kind of a reciprocal situation. But I think the more that we take time, I mean, to pray about it, to journal again, like to journal about it, the more that we take that time and create that container to really allow ourselves to notice what gives you energy? What do you
Yeah.
feel drawn to? What do you feel drawn to?
Right.
Is such a good question.
Mhm.
Like when you're trying to discover your purpose and you're working on improving your leadership, what
Mhm.
do I feel drawn to? How
Mhm.
do I wanna show up? Like, even podcasting, right? Like,
Right.
I kinda just started my podcast, and there's people that are gonna tell you, like, "This is the right way to podcast, this is the wrong way to podcast," and, have questions, don't have questions, or whatever it is, and every time I, like, got a piece of information, I always kind of asked myself, "Does that resonate? Does that
Mhm.
feel like something that I can do? Does it feel like something that gives me energy?"
Yeah.
Versus, "That feels really complicated to me, like, that feels really, ugh, sticky."
Right.
These are ways that we can navigate, and those are your gifts, like, that's what God gave you. God
Right.
didn't give you, you and I approach our podcast very differently, and
Right.
neither one is right or wrong.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that you took it in a way of gifts because, I mean, in the
Mm,
Bible, it literally says that we all have different gifts. And it's just about discovering that gift. And I think in the world that we live in, we get so distracted by trying to be somebody else, trying to
yeah,
be like an influencer we may look up to, or
yeah,
like you said, a different podcaster, or a different business owner, or a different holistic coach. Like, and but that was God, that was never God's intention, was for us to
mm,
be like somebody else. If he wanted us to be like somebody else, we would look like somebody else, we would talk like somebody else,
mhm,
we would be like somebody else, but we're all uniquely different. And I actually in one of my episodes that I just recorded with somebody, we were talking about how we were talking about those gifts and how
mm.
she loves to tell stories, and I I can't even begin to tell a story. Like, I was explaining to her how I told a little kid this story, and it was probably the worst story ever, like, but he thought it was great, like, he was 4, so
Cute.
but it's just beautiful to see, like, kinda how you said, we approach our podcast in 2 different ways, but both ways are great, and it's just beautiful to see how we have these each individual gifts, and I love the texting your friends and asking, because I read a book, Created to Dream, I believe it was called, and, that book was really good if you wanna read it. But, um, in that was a lot about, like, our gifts, and as I'm reading that, I'm like, "Okay, I know I'm good at some things, but I guess I don't really know necessarily what my gifts are." Like, I do, but I don't. So, I texted a couple of my friends, and at the time, he was my fiancé, so, texted him, and all of them kind of all everything that they responded were very similar gifts.
Mhm.
And so it was really cool to see that. And it was really cool kind of how you said, like, to sit with that and resonate with with myself, and then be able to give that in return and be like, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like these are your gifts. And
Mhm.
so it's just like a really cool conversation to have. So I definitely recommend doing that with your friends too.
Yeah, it's so fun. And another way that we can do this, you know that I do human design, and in human design,
Mhm.
one of the aspects of human design, they're actually called gifts or gates that we all have. And without going into the details of like how to locate them, you can just download like the My Human Design app, and you would see like your gifts come up, and they tell you every gift has kind of a different energy to it. So there's like leadership gates or gifts. So like being able to lead
Mhm.
people, like you were created as a leader. You can
Right.
also kind of talk about that in so many different ways. It can come up in so many different ways. But I think one of the ways that human design is helpful for me and it has been supportive for me, and that's why I talk about it and I use it with my clients, is because it gives us that jumping off point where I'm always like, every intro call that I have with a client, I always say, I'm not here to tell you who you are.
Right.
I'm not, and this chart is not telling you who you are. All it is sending out this invitation for then you to notice how it resonates with you.
Mm.
So like one of my gifts in my human design chart is being able to take these big complicated topics and bring them down. Somebody the other day, I was having a conversation. She's like, "Yeah, you dumb down human design really well," and I'm like, "I don't like that term, dumbing it down," but now I'm using it again.
You made it simple.
Simplifying,
Yes.
simplifying human design to make it easily digestible,
Mm.
and that can be in any topic, and that's kind of been the theme of my business because I think I know in my experience I've had these big topics come to
Mhm.
me and people are talking about it and like everything is just going over my head. I'm like, you need to rewind at least half of your tape and then start over because I don't know where you are right now.
Yeah.
And that's not how I want to approach my business. So I take all of these bigger topics and bring them down to make them really easily digestible, is how I word it. And then I saw that in my human design chart and I was like, oh, that really makes sense. So it's kind of like an affirmation. And it can also be this jumping off point of, do I resonate with this? Like, is this something that kind of hits with me where I'm like, yeah, or, like your friend saying something or your fiance saying something, and then sitting with it and being like, oh yeah, that's interesting that so many people said the same thing. Like,
Right.
I mean, yeah, so many things in my whole life. Like I've kind of known that um I am created to lead. And for me in my business, that's like having a podcast and cultivating a community. I don't
Yeah.
think that I need to be the one in charge. I'm just the container creator.
Right.
Um, and that shows up in my human design chart. And it's like, oh, cool. What
Yeah.
what an affirmation and what a reminder that, oh yeah, these are one of my gifts. This is something that's part of my purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Mm.
that's really good. I love
Yeah.
that. So within all of this and everything that we just kind of talked about, is there anything else that you want to share in regard to leadership, success, gifts, anything like that? Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think the thing that I just want to reiterate is that our journeys change over time and we're always
Yes.
growing and always evolving, and
Mhm.
never to put yourself in a box.
Yeah. I think it's
Whatever
important
we're
to know
talking
that. Like,
about. Like, I
super
think when we
important.
get in these tools of human design or astrology or the Enneagram or like Myers Briggs, we can really limit ourselves because we can be like, oh, well, I'm just a Leo or I'm just a INFJ, whatever, whatever Myers Briggs is. Don't limit yourself. Don't put yourself in a box, and
Yeah,
how
no.
you show up and how you lead, how you show
Mhm.
up for your community, your family, your people, how you show up in this world
Right.
is going to change. And don't
Yeah.
allow yourself to dim your light by
Mhm.
putting yourself in this container or this
Right.
box.
Yeah. No, that's so good. I feel like if we're not changing, then we should honestly question, like, are we actually following like our passion and our purpose?
Yeah.
Because I think change is such an important thing to lean into. And I've
Yeah.
always been the type of person to lead into like the uncomfortable
Yeah.
situation rather than like being comfortable. So
Mhm.
I feel like sometimes I'm just like, why did I do this to myself? But
Right?
it's a good space to be in. And honestly, like you said, like don't see yourself as this one thing. Like God sees you as this huge, amazing thing. Like he
Mm.
created you in the image of God. And that means we have endless possibilities. Like
Mhm.
endless
Yeah.
possibilities for whatever our passion and purpose and plan is that God has for us, not what like a horoscope says or a
Mhm.
personality test says or anything like
Mhm.
that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's really important to share.
Yeah, if you think about how big I went to a Catholic high school, so I went to a religious high school, and
Mhm.
I had one of my ethics teachers, I think, he had a blackboard back in the day. I don't know what they teach with now, but
Right.
with like the smart iPads and stuff. But they're on the blackboard, and he made like a very, very small dot with white chalk on this
Mm,
blackboard. And he said, "Now I want you to imagine this blackboard expanding infinitely to the left, infinitely to the right, infinitely up, and infinitely down. And I want you to look at that speck, and that is you, and God is everything else. Like, this is how
wow.
big God is, and you're just this like little baby speck
Wow.
in the universe. Or if you look at like one star in the sky when you're on like out on a clear night, and then how vast the sky is, and you can't even see it all.
Mm,
That's how small you are, and that's how big God is.
mm,
And how can we possibly
so
say,
good.
I need to find my one purpose, or
Right.
I need to find my one, like my one life goal, or what I was created to do in this lifetime. Like,
Mhm.
it's going to be so many different things, and
Yeah.
it's going to be changing all the time. And that's the beauty of life, is
Yes.
that you don't have to, like, you're going to go through seasons. There's going to be
Mhm.
seasons that are really easy, and there's going to be seasons that are very change forward and grow you and develop you and
Mhm.
change you. And they're all good
Yeah.
seasons. Like, nothing's really good or bad. I don't even like saying it's a good season. It's
Right.
just there's going to be different seasons in your life.
Yeah.
Like, and we need to stop labeling, gosh, everything,
Right.
really. We need to stop labeling everything.
Yes, no, that's really good. So, yeah, I've absolutely loved having this conversation with you about leadership and just our gifts, abilities. Like, it's so important to dive into this stuff when we're living in a world that's so focused on like being like everybody else and
Yeah.
so much of like toxic culture, I feel like, telling
Mhm.
us these things that are not feeding off what we should be doing as individuals. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, this was so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. So like I told you, I always like to do a Bible verse at the end. And the one you chose was Hebrews 11:1. Faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things that we cannot see. And I absolutely love that. Without faith, works is dead. So we have to have that faith in everything that we're doing. So I kind of just wanted you to share as well, kind of why you chose that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So the the longer story is my sister's name is Faith.
Hmm.
And I really wanted to get a tattoo that had her name in it because she's just the most important person in my life, and I'm obsessed with her and I love her.
Aw,
And I'm like, well, I
that's
don't just
sweet.
want to get like Faith written on me.
Right.
And at that, like along the same time, it was just one of the, I think we all kind of have like mantras that we live by in different seasons. And that was really important to me in a season that I was going through. And I think it's such a beautiful reminder of believing in yourself,
Hmm.
believing in your purpose, believing in your vision, believing in God, believing, having belief in things that you don't see and that you
Right.
can't see. And it's trusting that this is going to work out, trusting that I'm taken care of, trusting that I'm supported, trusting that every dream that I have is placed on my heart for a reason, and it's
Mm,
going to come to fruition. It might just not come in my timeline and or how I want it or how I envision it
yeah.
happening.
Oh,
But
yeah.
having faith in things that you can't see, like that's just such a relief too. I think it's like believing like this is going to change and this is going to
Mhm.
happen, even though I can't see it right now, or even when things look different in my life. It's
Yeah.
having that steadfastness, right?
Mhm.
Of I believe, I trust, I have faith.
Yeah.
And it's a really good reminder.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I love what you said about just like trusting in God's timing and stuff. I feel like I'm in a season of just contentment right now and just embracing and just experiencing everything that God has already gifted me rather
Mhm.
than just continuously striving for more and like what's next? What does the future have? What's the next plan? God, like give it to
Yeah,
me. And he's just like, you're living in everything that you've prayed for and you're not even like being content with what I've given you right now.
yeah.
And I'm like, wow. Yeah, let me
Such a
just
good reflection, though, like, such
mm,
a good reflection that you notice that and then
mhm,
settle into that because we get so caught up in what's the next thing? What's
right.
the best thing? The next best thing,
Yeah.
or how can I continue to grow? And sometimes we do go through those seasons of, "Wait, can I enjoy it for a minute? Like,
Mhm.
can I enjoy this beautiful relationship that I now have that I prayed for years? Or can I enjoy having
For
my own
real.
business without focusing on, ugh, like, what is the growth pattern? What's the trajectory? What
Yeah.
That's actually kind of funny that you said that because I feel like I'm kind of in that season of settling and becoming aware of what I'm grateful for in this season of my life,
Mm,
and really becoming aware of everything that I've been working to create
yeah.
for the past few years, and I definitely get stuck in the, like, "What's next?"
Yeah.
So
We
I
all
think we're kind
do.
of similar.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that. So, if you guys want to connect with her, if you want to follow her on Instagram, listen to her podcast, you can find her at underscore journey to well, and her podcast is Journey to Well. So, I will list both of those in the show notes. And
Mhm.
then, if you like this episode, be sure to share it with somebody. Don't forget to take care of yourself because when you're not your best self, you can't help others become their best selves as well. So, thank you again, Hannah. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Stephanie, this is so fun.